Behind enemy lines. So nice that you just got to do it twice. We just finished one and we're going to do it again with my guy, Jake. So we got tons of stuff to talk about. And this first one is super, super spicy. We'll get into it next after this intro. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And as I said, it's behind enemy lines night yet again. And I got my guy, Jake, with me. What's up, Jake?
My guy, Jessie. You know, I absolutely have been dying for this since week 3 because I thought we chopped it up on just another level. You're one of my favorite, not just creators, not just people in the industry, people, Jessie. You're one of my favorite people I know. I know we haven't gotten together yet in person. We will. I'm looking forward to that NFC West Roundtable meetup in person whenever that happens. But Jessie, really appreciate you having me and excited to collab. This is not a straightforward game. I know the Rams are coming off a 44-42 win over the Buffalo Bills, but the 49ers are coming off their win as well against the Bears. So you got a division rivalry. I know I laughed in the face of this being a quote-unquote trap game, and I'll continue to do that because I think looking back at the history of this, either the 49ers blow out the Rams or it's a close game. That is just the reality of it.
Yeah, man, this one's going to be super fun. And it's interesting because my famous thing on the whole NFC West roundtable is like stick a fork in them. So I've been bringing the fork. And I said after you guys lost to the Eagles, I think I said, because it was Miami, and then it was like, well, you got to beat the Eagles. You got to make up for that one, and you didn't. And so I brought the fork in. I said, it's over for you guys too. What I didn't account for is that you'd beat the Buffalo Bills. I thought that was a for sure loss. My bad. I missed out on that one. Got it a little bit wrong. But oddly enough, even if y'all lose this game, you're not out of it. In fact, you're kind of still a bit in the driver's seat because you look at that schedule from Seattle. They've got the Packers, which is a tough game. We think they're actually going to beat the Packers, but then you got the Vikings. And if they drop one of those two and the Rams can win those final 3, they would still win the division with a loss to the 49ers. So I don't think things are as important for the Rams as they are the 49ers, but still a very, very important game for both of these teams.
I agree, but I would also go as far as to say this is a must win because the momentum you built, right? You're on a 2-game win streak. Recovering from the Eagles game I was at, and I think a lot of Rams fans threw the season away after that. That left a really bad taste in people's mouths. I saw the players after the game. You could tell that was lingering, but the quickest way to get over a loss is win, right? And they did that. And then they beat the Bills in a game that I didn't pick them to win, and many other, Rams people didn't pick them to win. And I loved what Rich Eisen had to say because, he brought it to me exactly the same way I would say it. Look, they're going to lose to the Bills and they're going to win out. And I'm going to take them to win the NFC West. That's how I felt. But now that they've beaten the Bills, they do have a little bit of that cushion. I don't think the Rams care about the cushion. I think they want to blow everyone out of the water the rest of the way. They have something to prove. We've seen now back-to-back games with a healthy offensive line. This is the baseline offense that we were hoping to see week 1. A lot of injuries covered that up. But if that's their offense, make no mistake about it, they're trying to unleash that on every single foe moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have an interesting topic that we set hours and hours and hours before this actually dropped, but it's perfect timing here. I had a little Stafford and Purdy topic dialed up for us. And the reason that I had this dialed up is there's a lot of discourse on both of these quarterbacks, really. I think in some instances, both of them can be looked at as underrated. In some instances, maybe both of them could be looked at as overrated, depending on the eye of the beholder. But going perfectly with this, FanDuel went ahead and dropped their QB tiers. And I do prefer QB tiers to rankings. And the reason I do is because sometimes it is hard to decipher who's where. This thing is all over the place. I appreciate the fact that maybe they're trying to go off of just this year. But if you're going off of this year, I don't understand how guys like Love can be in tier 2 and even Mahomes can be in tier 2. This whole thing's all over the place. But they've got Purdy and Stafford right there together in the same tier, Jake. And I'll say this, obviously doing 49er content, there's a big segment of the 49ers fan base that has almost no respect for Stafford. They think he's overrated. They don't understand why the other segment of the fan base thinks that he's an elite quarterback. I fall into that segment where I think he's an elite quarterback. They don't get it. And if he throws like a pick against the 49ers and they lose, they're going to jump all over it. But then on the flip side, they think that Purdy is elite and we should pay him all the money in the world. And it's just interesting, the takes that between this fan base that come down to Stafford and Purdy. I know where you kind of lie on both these guys. You think Purdy's underrated, very good player, but also, maybe not living up to expectation this year. And you do think Stafford is elite. So first of all, what do you think about these tiers? And then just what is the discourse, would you say, over in Rams land when it comes to these two quarterbacks? You're muted, I think. I heard you clicking around, but now I can't hear you. This is why we were late, guys. We're having technical difficulties with Jake's mic. I don't know what's going on. Nope. I think maybe his XLR cord is going out or something. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there at this point. I heard you clicking a second ago. I could hear all that, and then all of a sudden it was gone. Nothing. Maybe leave and come back. Leave and come back.
Okay. How about that?
There it is. There it is.
Okay, it's not as good. I don't have my settings and whatnot, so it's just raw. But
yeah, that's fine.
I'd rather just have audio than not have audio, right?
Yeah,
right.
What's going on? Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about it, because I understand, Aaron Rodgers isn't everyone's best friend, and Kirk Cousins is kind of falling off. But we're really putting him on the same tier as Anthony Richardson? Are we serious right now? What? Jameis Winston? Jameis Winston's fun, but no. Aaron Rodgers is actually not having the worst season. Okay, let me make that very clear. He might not have the best season. He might not be Aaron Rodgers of old, but come on now. This is just a reactionary, very baity tier, and I mean, you see, I think Tua's too low. I think he should be in tier 3. I think Geno, I put Geno in tier 3 right now. I think he's having a good year. CJ Stroud, tier 3. I'm not putting him down at tier 4. I think that's an overreaction. Kyler Murray, Bryce Young. Bryce Young's playing really well the last, say, 4 or 5 games. But that's a little bit of an overreaction to a small sample.
I'd still have him in tier 5, right? Until he can show and work his way up.
And I really like Anthony Richardson, but for the love of God, I mean, he needs to be in tier 6. He's proven 0. Nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but yeah, you asked me up the tier list, and I saw that, and I was like, I had to comment. I think Stafford on the same level as Wilson, Baker, Daniels, Darnold, and Purdy. Statistically, I understand where they're going from, but you have to just ignore the stats for a second. Stafford is doing things on a football field that only the top guys on tier 1, and honestly, only one of those guys on tier 1 is doing consistently. I said it on the roundtable. I've said it now the whole week. The 2 best quarterbacks that should be in tier 1, I might even put Josh Allen in his own tier, to be honest with you. But the 2 best quarterbacks right now in the league, as it stands right now, Jesse, I'm not saying for the next 5 years or whatever, it's Josh Allen and Matthew Stafford in that order. Matthew Stafford is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson, and I love Lamar, but he is. He's a better quarterback than Joe Burrow. I love Joe Burrow, but he's a better quarterback than Joe Burrow. He's better than Patrick Mahomes right now. Is he better than Patrick Mahomes over the scope of a season or 2 seasons? No. But right now, the way Stafford is playing, the only one who's better than him is the guy that had 6 touchdowns in a game and lost. And that's Josh Allen. So that's how I look at it. Brock Purdy, tier 3, I don't mind that. I think some people, the one thing I wonder is, am I at the point where I've overrated Brock Purdy? Because I wasn't trying to do that. I was trying to be fair to him, and I felt like he was getting overhated. But maybe I overrated Brock Purdy. With that said, it doesn't make him a bad quarterback. I just wouldn't give $60 million to him. I can tell you that much.
Well, and I think, I mean, if this is just off of this year and in this moment, I mean, and they're going off of stats, honestly, Sam Darnold, tier 3 should be probably tier 2, right? I mean, the way he's playing,
absolutely.
you look statistically, he's up there. And so, the Jordan Love, I really don't understand it. I think Jordan Love is a phenomenal talent. I really do. But man, he does not protect the football whatsoever. And he's gotten a little bit better with it. But even then, it's like, I would say he's gotten almost more lucky than anything. Against us, he could have thrown easily 3 picks. He put it right in our chest, 3 different times. He just turns the ball over way too much for me. And it's not like he's making up with it with 4 or 5 touchdowns a game. Like when Josh was having his turnover season last year, he still had almost 50 total touchdowns. So it's like, okay, sure, you've got your 18 turnovers or whatever, but you've got 50 touchdowns. Like, what are you going to say to that?
Yeah.
But this is like, dude, this guy's turning it over in abundance right now. The hype on Jordan Love, I think, has gone way too far for me.
I agree. And you touched on this last night, and I really agreed with it. I think you and I both kind of had the same vision. Like, it's going to be a close game, but Jordan Love's turnover, he's turnover prone. He is. And I think Seattle will make him pay for that. Now, doesn't mean Geno can't throw an interception back, right? I mean, it's the time of giving, we're in the holiday season. But all jokes aside, I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to win that game because I think Jordan Love is too chaotic with the football.
Yeah, I think so as well. Listen, Caleb, I think the world of Stafford, this is going a bit too far.
I mean,
far for me.
He's on the borderline. I think he needs another ring for people to start giving him that level of credit, but he's on the borderline. I mean, he's definitely top 15 all time, I would say. From a talent perspective, he could be higher, but yeah, I would have to sit down and really think about that right now. I wouldn't be able to be like, yeah, he's definitely, because I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say, yeah, he's top 10 all time. Well, who are the other 9? If I can't name the other 9, that's the rule. That's the rule, Jesse. If you can't name the other 9 right then and there, then you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I can. I'll give my top 10. But there's a lot of QB discourse. Can I say that there are 49er fans over the last couple of weeks that have been in my chat and other chats saying that Steve Young's overrated all of a sudden? I'm like, what? The are we doing right now? Like, are we really to this point where we're doing everything we can to like prop up Brock Purdy that we got to now say that Steve Young was overrated? Is that we've gotten that far? Like, that's where we've gotten as a fan base? What are we doing?
I don't have words for that. I don't have words for that. Steve Young was incredible. And if anything, Steve Young low-key makes it, and I'm not saying either are overrated. So understand what I'm trying to say here. Steve Young makes it so it's as if Joe Montana would look overrated. Not Steve Young. Steve Young came in and did exactly what Joe Montana did, right? Like, basically. I mean, he ran the offense perfectly. So, and he added that, mobility element. So the last thing I'm going to do, Jesse, is say that he's overrated. That's the last thing I'm going to do.
Yeah, man, I that one got me. But we both agree, right? In this moment, we're taking Stafford over Purdy, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think Purdy with fully healthy weapons, a fully healthy offensive line, and I think he goes back to being in that top 10. The way he's playing and the statistics would prove that. So,
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's volatile. It really is a week to week league. I think when I started the season out, I had Purdy right at 10. And I said, hey, that to me, there's a possibility he can go up to 8 realistically. Because I Rogers and Cousins, who I had above him, I'm like, you don't know what you're going to get from them. And clearly they haven't been great, right? But then there are some other quarterbacks that have really stepped up. CJ Stroud's taken a back step this year, but you got guys that have come out of nowhere. Obviously, you've got a couple of the rookies that have played out of their minds, and it's literally a week to week league, man. And that's where we're at. And unless you've been established and put together 5, 6, 7 seasons in this league at an elite level, it's like,
I mean,
you're not locked for anything.
this is the league we watched RG3 go from superstardom to who wears RG3, you know? Like, this is the league where we saw Colin Kaepernick do that. This is a league where, you know, we saw Cam Newton do that, right? Is CJ Stroud a one-year wonder? Probably not, but there is concern right now with him.
Could be, right?
There's a very real concern, and this is why when people say it, obviously people use it in a negative way, and it's almost like the obvious cop-out when you don't want to give somebody credit. Just wait until there's film on him. Just wait. I was like, you guys told me that with Brock Purdy, and he looked fine, right?
Yeah. But
to be fair with CJ Stroud, there's a full year of film on him, and he's not having the best year. So, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of how I see that.
Yeah, that's why for me, like 3 years, and sometimes even then you can be wrong, right? You could have 3 years. There's guys, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold's doing it.
Yeah,
Geno. And a lot of times it's situation, Geno Smith. But 3 years, it's like, okay, you come in, you have your year to kind of learn the league. Sometimes you start out great, sometimes you start out slow. Then there's film on you in year 2, and then year 3 is your adjustments to their adjustments. And then that's kind of when you start to baseline out and we can figure out who you are as a player. Obviously, we can look at you as a prospect and look at your talent level and dissect that. But as an actual player, we really got to see those 3 years. And, you know, you're seeing some of those ebbs and flows for all these. I mean, I think, again, Love has all the talent in the world, but to me, he's turning the ball over too much. So let's see what it looks like next year for him. Brock Purdy's having a down year, but really this is kind of more his second year that we're into at this point. CJ Stroud, same thing. It's like you just got to see it play out. To me, I hate rushing to crown players and say that they're elite. I'm going to forecast. You know, I definitely thought that CJ Stroud could be elite. I never called him elite. And now you're seeing, like, shoot, who knows? Like, I mean, is he going to be a good quarterback? How much of that is the offensive line? Like, you really have got to look at this thing and let it play out. And Jaden Daniels is another one where it's like, man, Jaden Daniels started out great, but people were willing to just put him up above, you know, guys like Goff, who certainly don't have the talent level. But dude, how many years do you have to see this man produce in this league before you give him some freaking credit for what he's doing?
Yeah. And I actually just had a tweet about that where I felt as though I have been unfair to Jared Goff in giving him credit. And I think, you know, people are like, it's funny. I got DMs like, who got to you? Who in the Rams organization got to you? No one got to me. I just honestly was rewatching some of the video I did with Grant earlier. I was like, man, I was too hard on Goff. And I think sometimes we just have these realizations, and sometimes the one that gets through your head the easiest is actually you. And I've gone back and I've watched some of my old takes, and I've been like, yeah, that's cringy. I don't feel that way anymore, you know? And I feel like my takes on Jared Goff and my view on him was borderline Skip Bayless-esque, who I believe is smarter than he shows. And I think it's all just a shtick, right? So it's like the last thing I want to do is that. So I think really just kind of looking, I did not say Montana's overrated. Do not. So I think just looking at it, you know, with Jared Goff, it's like good for him, man. You know, I'm just happy that Stafford's there. Does he have his limitations? Absolutely. But Jared Goff is doing a good job. Somebody has to quarterback that team. I think too often we get into that, oh, well, he's not supposed to be where he is. We're doing that with Sam Darnold. I'm not. I love Sam Darnold. I love watching him play. I think that guy is legit. I think he's going to stick. I think he found Kevin O'Connell at the right time, and Kevin O'Connell developed him. I think got him to a level that I don't even think he thought he could get to. I think Darnold's confidence was completely shot, and I think Kevin O'Connell got the most out of him. But, I think that's the thing, is that just because guys don't have the name, like Bo Nix, for instance, I didn't want to give him credit, right? I didn't think he'd be good. And I'm watching him the other day, and I'm like, I see why teams liked him in the first round. I didn't get it initially, but when you go from college and that college offense, Oregon offense, as you know, and then you go to the NFL and you see it translate, it's like, oh, okay. And that's your point, where now the baton has been passed to you by a Bo Nix or whoever. Now it's up to you to be objective in your analysis. And I think quite often a lot of us are just kind of like, look, I didn't like him in college. I'm not going to like him in the NFL. I think that also goes the other way. I think there are people that were so obsessed with Trevor Lawrence in college that no matter whatever Trevor Lawrence does, he's going to be a top 10 quarterback in the league for people. For me, I see a lot of flaws with his game. I always have. And I just think that more often than not, Trevor Lawrence, who was anointed as the top overall prospect, like, he's going to get a pass. But meanwhile, Sam Darnold is having I don't want to say MVP year, but he's having a fantastic year, Jesse. And it just seems like no matter what happens, right? No matter what happens, that guy's always having to prove himself. And it's like people will be rooting for him. I'm telling you this right now. Remember I said this. People will be rooting for him to fail in the playoffs just because he's not supposed to be there. Do you know what I'm talking about? I feel like if it was like, I mean, Jared Goff is kind of like that. It's just when you have these memes about guys, like, hear me out. If Daniel Jones figures it out someday, and I know people are laughing, but for real, if Daniel Jones figures it out somewhere, he's still going to go through the same thing Darnold went through, the same thing Geno goes through on a daily basis. People aren't going to look at the stats. People aren't going to watch the tape. They've already made up their minds about these guys. And I think we should just do a better job. And while I say we, I mean you and I do it, but just the people that are really quick to judge and just that first impression is it. You can't look at it like that in the NFL, man. The first impression was Jamarcus Russell was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. We know where that went. So,
Yeah, I think Baker's another one, man. I remember when he was coming out of college, that whole draft class. I had Allen 1, Lamar 2, and then I said Baker would be out of the league in 5 years. That was my hot take. And it was almost happened. It almost happened, but low key, the Rams kind of saved him, revived him, and then sent him off to Tampa, man. And he's just done his thing. And it's like, gosh, I was not a fan of Baker at all, but dude, how can you not give him credit? It's now 2 years in a row. This thing is not a fluke. He's playing really, really good football. He's tough as nails. He's clearly matured. You just got to give him his flowers. And, I think Sam Darnold was a turnover machine early in his career. He's kind of shown to be that at times this year, but for the most part, he's been really good. And if he can put together another year next year, it's like, okay, well, at some point you gotta just say he's good, Yeah. I mean, I definitely want to see it another year before I'm fully in on it, but man, he's trending towards being pretty damn good quarterback. So
I agree. And also, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, the Jets organization, the Giants organization's trash and they're the problem.
Yeah.
And then be like, these guys suck. And then we've now seen multiple players like a Geno Smith go and Sam Darnold go leave that organization and find success somewhere else with a better organization. There's multiple occurrences of this. Man, I think we should just have a rule like how soccer has. If you're not gonna hold your end of the bargain and be a good team, you get demoted to the minor leagues.
I think that would be so fantastic. Could you imagine last place team gets booted and has to get relegated to some G League style? That would be fantastic if that actually existed. That would be great.
The live streams of people covering that. All right, our team literally has to win this weekend or we're out of the NFL.
It'd be so good. It'd be so good. Oh my gosh, I would love that, man. Although I don't know that I would have loved it back when the 49ers weren't so good. But
Yeah.
but I think what the point is that there's only like 4, 5, sometimes 6 guys that probably transcend the position, and it doesn't really matter the situation you put them in. They're going to show through. They're going to be elite. They can play at a high level. Not most quarterbacks are not that. Most quarterbacks fit into they're either not good and shouldn't be starting, or you know what? They're good if everything around them is good. They can play really good football, and that's what that's what you're seeing with Geno and Sam and Baker, Brock, Tua, like a lot of these guys, Goff. So if things are great around them, man, they can execute at a high level. And there are guys that can't even do that. So it's not like a knock against them. It just means that they can't carry the way that a Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes, and some of these other guys can. It's just the reality. So,
no, that's a great way to put it. And that's where I think the tiers would be better served than just having tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Actually, like, label them. Like, this is, in a way, right? Like, just elite. What does elite mean? It means I put him on the Browns, I put him on the Chiefs, I put him on whoever, and he is going to succeed no matter what, right? And then to me, a great quarterback is somebody that needs a little help, but for the most part, if I put him on almost any team, I would expect good things. A good quarterback is somebody that is likely going to need to stay in the same location, but could maybe surprise people and work in some different opportunities. An average quarterback is going to need all the help in the world, right? A poor quarterback, below average, is literally just not very good, even if you give them weapons. So, that's what I would say.
Absolutely. Dave's got a lot to say. He says, Jake, give me 5 minutes of walking. You could do it. Wrong guess. He's not our walking guy. So funny.
I don't even know how I would be able to do that. Like, my voice wouldn't even be able to do what he does.
Brandon's so good at it, though, dude. It's so
good.
funny. And not only that, but he also comes up with like the craziest ish on the fly. It's really good. Dave says, takes 5 minutes to spell Jake's name. Can you really?
Yeah.
To spell Jake's name. You can't ever expect him to wrap things up quickly, guys. So enjoy it all. Jake is knowledgeable and laughs at his own misfortune, but he can point out yours as well.
Hey, thanks, Dave.
Dave says, is this about Stafford being good and Purdy not? No, that's not what this is about. Dave says, is Lyle the kid in the wheelchair? Pretty bird. Dumb and Dumber take. That's good. Dave says, Lyle is the kid in the wheelchair. Holy jeez, Jessie.
He's having these like just
Brother Bob says, Jake made more sense when his mic wasn't working.
Hey, why do I never see Brother Bob in our round table anymore?
He's Brother Bob's a lawyer actually in real life. So this is real life busy. Yeah.
I miss you.
Roger. What's up, Roger? It says one of the best parts of the season has been that I got a chance to meet both of y'all. Keep up the great content. Yeah, that's right. Dude, Roger's an awesome guy. There's a lot of awesome Rams fans. I got to say it, man. You guys were so great when I went out there. I really appreciate you. Dave says, oh, shots fired. Jake's better off.
I think he's having conversations with himself via Super Chat.
Him and Brother Bob are now going back and forth. Brother Bob says Jake bumped his head saying Montana was overrated. He did not say that. That is not. You go back and listen to what he said. That is not what he said. Jake, I'm writing the tweet now. This is my take. Brother Bob says, Jake, your takes tonight are super cringe. He did not say he was overrated. My gosh. This happens a lot. This happens to me a lot too, where people are like, oh, you said this. I'm like, no, I didn't say that. Dave says, always going to give you a hard time, Jake. Much respect.
Appreciate you, Dave.
And then Brother Bob says he meant disrespect, Jake. Perfect. And then official B&A Music wraps up, says a Geno Darnold NFC title game with AR-12 getting the Jets #1 pick would be so Jets. Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
I need Sam Darnold to go to the Giants because I saw the Rams play the Giants. I think it was 2017 or 2018. And no, not at all. It was 2017 because Darnold was the 2018 class. So I saw multiple Giants. This is the sign of the times, Jesse. Saw multiple Giants fans wearing Darnold 10 or Darnold 13, Darnold 15, just Giants jerseys. So hopefully you didn't sell it for a penny at your yard sale and you have that, because if he went to the Giants, that would be worth a little bit more than what it is right now, which is nothing because he never went there. But I don't know. That would be
he could go there too. That's the crazy thing. This offseason.
Yeah, and with Dable, I mean, you never know. I don't think he's a bad offensive play caller. I just don't know if he's the best head coach. You know?
That's fair. That's totally fair. I felt like he was a little bit of a Josh Allen merchant, but then he came out and won Coach of the Year, and now he's kind of regressed back to the mean. I don't know. I don't know what to think about Dayball. All right, brother. Let's talk about this game though, and this matchup. Okay.
Yeah.
See, these are the takes right here that just get me going, man. It's like, hey, one of them has to go through Patrick Mahomes just to get to the Super Bowl. The other one doesn't have to play him until he gets to the Super Bowl. You understand like how that makes a difference? No,
I know.
Okay, all right. I can't do it. Anyways, since week 3, the 49ers are basically the same team. They're up and down. They're a roller coaster. They've got tons of injuries. The Rams, though, went on a slide. They went into that game on a slide. They came out of that game on a slide. And then since the bye week, man, they've hit their stride. 6-2. Matthew Stafford, 16 touchdown passes to just 4 interceptions. This looks like a completely different team. So walk me through why the Rams all of a sudden have done this now 2 years in a row where they've struggled going into the bye and then just boom, came out of that bye firing pretty much on all cylinders. You guys have beaten the Vikings, very good team. You've beaten the Buffalo Bills, obviously a very good team. Had a squirrely loss in there where you did lose to the Dolphins, but the Dolphins, since they've gotten Tua back, have been much better as well. So walk me through why the Rams have figured this thing out.
Yeah, and I can tell you why it's back-to-back years because, unfortunately they've had injuries. And, I understand people are going to say the excuses, but it's the reason. I mean, Stafford is good enough to win games and get you to 6-6 with 3 of the 5 offensive linemen out, right? But the problem is eventually that does, take its toll. And last year, they really felt the loss of, first off, Cooper Kupp at no point really felt healthy throughout last year. So that hurt them. In addition to that, Kyren Williams went down for 4 games. They were 1-3 in those games, right? So their offense really just was gone when Kyren Williams went down last year. And keep in mind, Stafford gets banged up on a real stupid play. I don't know why they even threw it. I don't know if you remember against Dallas last year. They had, I think it was Tutu Atwell who threw the 2-point conversion to Stafford and he messed up his hand and then couldn't play the next week.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So
yeah.
They had that Packers game, which obviously would have been a tough place to play anyway. Lambeau Field, middle of the season, and they don't beat the Packers. I don't think they've beaten the Packers. They haven't. They haven't beaten them since 2018 when I was there. Ty Montgomery fumbled the kickoff. But so they don't have him. They played Brett Rippon, who was terrible. Shocker. Stafford comes back. They win an ugly game against the Seahawks coming off the bye, 17-16 or whatever it was. After that, they got Kyren Williams back. That was the thing. Okay. Right now, you go in the bye. It's not great. How do you come out of it? You're 3-6. They win the first game against Seattle. Ugly. Very similar to this year, 20-15 against the Raiders. I'd call that ugly right after the bye. And then they went on a run. And what we saw is when Kyren Williams came back, he was on the field with Puka Nacua, he was on the field with Tutu Atwell, he was on the field with Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford. This offense just didn't really miss a beat. And then you had Demarcus Robinson, who a lot of insiders at Rams camp just kept saying, watch out for Demarcus Robinson. Number 15 is really good. He's just not getting his opportunities. I was like, okay, well, we'll see. And then all of a sudden he gets his opportunities. Now Demarcus Robinson is starting to have a huge, opportunity and taking it, in stride. And we saw that Saints game where, he really exploded. And I think they really kind of had that momentum, winning 7 of their last 8. They lose by 1 point to the Lions. I really do believe they could have gone to the Super Bowl that year. I don't know if they had the firepower to beat the Chiefs. Well, they had the firepower. I don't know if they had the defense to beat the Chiefs because they were still young. But they really had a shot, and they lose, right? So then you go to this year, and it's like before, they even report to camp, you got season-ending injury, Darion Kendrick, and you're like, oh no. Every Rams fan knew. Once one domino falls, they all fall. So after that, you had injuries to Darius Williams, you had injuries to Trey White, you had injuries to the whole offensive line. Not even kidding. Everybody was dealing with injuries. They were using KT Leviston, their left tackle, their 7th round pick out of K-State, who has not even seen preseason games. He was practicing at left tackle. Alec Jackson wasn't healthy, and he was about to deal with a suspension that we've still never figured out what that was for. Joe Noteboom, shocker, he's always hurt. He was banged up. Jonah Jackson was banged up. Steve Avila is dealing with something. Kevin Dotson, Rob Havenstein. And then you're doing these joint practices, and everyone's like, oh boy, because the Dallas Cowboys, who by the way are not a good football team, shocker, they're bullying the Rams front, right? So everyone's like, oh, this doesn't look good. Dallas is destroying us, and I don't think Dallas is that great of a football team. And then they go to Houston, and you got Ernest Jones, who's getting absolutely owned in those one-on-ones, or the 11-on-11. And so after that, they're like, okay. And then there's just a lot of injuries they're dealing with. And then Puka Nacua goes down in the joint practice against the Chargers, and people are like, oh no, this isn't good. This is really, that's the one domino. Aside from Stafford, you've seen Puka Nacua, what he can do. If he's down, this is not good. So week 1, whether he was healthy or not, I can never tell you. I don't know for sure, but he plays. He gets hurt in the first half. So the second half, while they made a feverish comeback with a left tackle who is on the practice squad, who hasn't even seen playing time since that game, their 4th stringer, AJ Arcuri, they made the feverish comeback. They're down 17-3. They take the lead on the Lions. They send them to overtime. They lose. They run out of gas. This was kind of a sign that this is really what Matthew Stafford brings to the table. That's just the reality of it. He's going to keep you in those games that you shouldn't be in. But if you don't win those games, you can't blame Stafford. I think a lot of that was happening, Jesse, if I'm being honest with you. And so, throughout the year, it's been a lot of just handling the injuries, and they've gotten better and better at managing it. And as Sean McVay said right around the bye week, he's like, at some point or another, we got to get somebody back. And I remember you and I were texting back and forth. Oh, this is the week. They're going to get Steve Avila back. Oh, nope, not that. Oh, this is the week. Nope, not that one. Oh, this is. And Sean McVay was noticeably frustrated that, hey, like, he's not going to rush these guys back, but he's like, man, you just want to get somebody back. We're just trying to hold out our own and everything. And now, the Rams have had so many injuries. A lot of people don't even know this. Cooper Kupp was never placed on IR. He missed 5 games. Was never placed on IR because they could not use one of those spots, right? So they have one more spot to designate somebody to return. That's it for the rest of the year. So they've been kind of holding on to that. They still don't know. They haven't been able to decide if they're going to bring back Troy Reader or John Johnson. They only have one to decide. So that's where they're at right now. But it just kind of goes to show you, health has really been an issue way more than last year. And they finally got that health back, Jesse. They finally got it together. The Saints game, and people said, well, that first half, why do I care that their offensive line's healthy? They got blanked. Well, then the second half, look at it. The second half, they score 3 touchdowns in the red zone. And then they carry on that game, having the offense starting to gel, and then they put up 44, not really, but, 37 points on the Bills. And so now I'm starting to think, this is really, when I said that they would win the Super Bowl preseason, and people said I was insane, I said the big reason for that is that the defense is going to be top 15. They're going to be a defense that creates a lot of pressure. These guys are too young to realize how good they're better than what they are supposed to be, right? And then in addition to that, I thought the offense would be top 3. Well, Jesse, I saw a top 3 offense on Sunday. And if they continue that on, now we have a baseline of what they can be. they're going to be the hardest out that you could find for a team that doesn't have really the best record going into this week.
Yeah, it has been interesting to watch them kind of on their climb. I mean, definitely a lot of injuries. I know the 49ers have dealt with a lot of injuries as well. How did you feel as a Ram fan? Because this was kind of my frustration through these injuries with the 49ers is like you've got a team like the Detroit Lions who have 20 players out last week, right? They find a way to beat the Green Bay Packers. And really to me, what I admired most about that wasn't that they won, right? It's very hard to win with that many injuries. I do understand that. But injuries don't stop you from being able to scheme out of your mind, from being able to fly to the football and give full effort every single snap. And that's where I have the issue with the 49ers. It's like, man, when certain players weren't there, it's just like they would lay down and almost die. Like, oh, I guess we'll wait till they're back healthy. It's like, you can't do that. You've got to go out there and give out your best effort. And last week was infuriating, plus also liberating the fact that they won and were able to put it all together. But you're going, where the hell has this been all year? Like this scheme, these plays, I haven't seen these all year long. This effort, flying to the football, not missing tackles. Like these are the things that should not change regardless of who's on the field. Now, yes, the players aren't as good. Sometimes you can sit back and say, hey, we just had X amount of people out. That's why we lost that game. We were out talented. But you can't say that if you're not doing all the other things to lead up to that point. And that's where my frustration has been with the 49ers. Have you felt like that with the Rams, or do you feel like genuinely like effort was there? Schematically, everything was good to go. We just didn't have enough dogs in the fight. Like what is your thought about the Rams and why they were losing those games? Was it strictly injury, or were there some other things that they could have done better as well?
I mean, they probably could have done some things better, but I definitely think a lot of it was injury. I just think, except for the Cardinal game where you lose 41-10 in a game that would probably never happen again, that was just so ridiculous. They missed like 20 tackles. That game really just felt like they gave up early on. It was very just not Sean McVay-like. But you're not going to see that game again in a season unless they're just really banged up and they have 17 different offensive line combinations like 2022. But that's kind of how I see it, is that this is a team that really was punching above their weight class despite the fact they're one of the youngest teams in football. They had to rely on receivers that weren't even supposed to play. They had to rely on offensive linemen. You talk about Justin Dedick, who didn't even make the 53, and now he's starting 2 games. Bo Limmer, who we've talked about many times, he wasn't supposed to start. They had a plan for him. They were going to slowly develop him, and now all of a sudden he's thrown in the fire, and they prefer him over their $18 million a year player. It tells you a lot, but you kind of find out what you are as time goes on, especially dealing with adversity. And they didn't want to give up on Trey White, but they found that, these other guys were going to help out better, and they moved on. And I just think that when you have, Puka Nacua missing 6-7 games in a season, I mean, he's the best receiver on this team. Like, let's just call it like it is. He's the best receiver on this team. I understand, Cooper Kupp is special, but Cooper Kupp isn't the Triple Crown Cooper Kupp. He's definitely taken a little bit of a step back. Can still be a 1,000-yard receiver, absolutely. I mean, Torrey Holt was a 1,000-yard receiver a little bit later on in his career as well. That happens. But at the same time, I just think right now, Puka Nacua plays, and I was just talking about this with my buddy Blaine. He plays on the level of like a Hines Ward. Like everything's a car crash with him. He doesn't care. He's the most smash mouth wide receiver in the game right now. He really is. He does not care, if he has to lay his body out. He doesn't care if he's puking on the sidelines after making a touchdown grab where he's just fully extended and it's just all chest and abs hitting the ground. He doesn't care. He's going to do it. And, 6 years from now, he's probably going to play a little bit more conservative for, making a little bit more business decisions, if you will. But right now, he's having fun. He's out there. And so he gives you a chance to win any game. We saw that, in the playoff game against the Lions. No matter what you do, though, if you try to stop him, you have to stop Cooper Kupp, and then all of a sudden, Tutu Atwell becomes more dangerous, and Demarcus Robinson. But we saw when Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua were out, Demarcus Robinson was not dangerous at all. He could not create separation. He could not get open. He could not catch. And it was really the Tutu Atwell and every now and then Jordan Whittington show for the Rams. So I just think, I understand people are going to say what they're going to say, but I think the injuries, excuses people say, it was the reason, I think, for a lot of this.
I'm trying to think back. I don't know that the 49ers have faced in the 2 seasons. It's only 3 games, but I don't think they faced both Puka and Cooper at the same time. I don't think
They've
it's
never done it
yet.
before.
Yeah. So they didn't face either of them in week 3. Last year, they didn't face Cooper. And then they had the week 18 game where teams were resting. Yeah.
Because the teams were
week 18.
They were resting, yeah. But
right, but the first game in the season that they matched up early, I think Cooper Kupp was hurt and Puka was playing. So
that's correct, yeah.
Yeah. So they haven't faced them both. This will be interesting.
They have parallel issues because before the season in 2023, Cooper Kupp has that, in the middle of that joint practice injury, and then Puka Nacua this year. So
interesting.
Yeah,
that'll be really interesting. First time seeing them both on the field together. Dave says, "I know Jake isn't Brandon. I just wanted some walking effort."
I mean, I just don't even know how to get my voice in that way. Like I couldn't do it. Like I don't know. I could do McVay. I couldn't really talk like McVay, but I have his mannerisms down. So if you would like that, I could do that. But
I you know what? I actually noticed you've switched your mic foamy out. Maybe that's why the audio issues have come. It used to be blue, Jake. I think you've jinxed yourself.
I think you're just losing it, man. I think you're just losing it. It was never blue. It was always yellow.
Right. Yeah. This is what is it called when this happens? The Mandela effect. Yeah.
Yes.
I always thought the foamy was blue. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's definitely always been yellow.
Brother Bob says, "Miss you too, Jake. Not your Daniel Jones may be good, Jake."
Oh, come on.
You never know, man. You really never know in this league. Alex with 2 X's says, "While nobody holds a candle to Pierogi guy's walking impersonation, I will say Jake does a halfway decent McVay." I want to see this, and I think I'll ask him to do it on the roundtable, but I got to go back and watch McVay before I do, because I have nothing to no frame of reference in my mind. I won't, you know what I mean? I can't say good or bad because I really haven't seen a lot of McVay's pressers or anything.
No, I hear you. I got all of his verbiage down though. It's kind of funny.
See now I'm going to go watch McVay and then I'm requesting this on the show just so you know. No Handicap says, "Go Rams. Weiner's going to feed Debo, asking for a friend." I hope not, man. I really hope not. Dave says, "Everyone, Harris the Great is here." Bow down, Harris. I did see him make an appearance in the chat. No Handicap says, "Sorry, Jesse. Phone auto corrected. Niners." What was the last one he said? My bad. I don't.
We gonna see Debo tomorrow playing for the Winers.
Oh, yeah. Good, nice. Yeah, I'm sure that was by accident. Yeah. Dave Barclay says, "Jake, any Christmas as a kid that you were home alone?"
No. Always had my parents around.
Brother Bob says, "Jake, put the fries in the bag, bro." I said, "Put the fries in the bag." I don't even know what that means.
I don't know. I heard that today, not from directed at me. That must be some meme or something.
Yeah, it might be. All day, every day, Kim says, "How the F are the 49ers favorited? Why?" I don't understand that either, honestly.
I don't know. I think it's anticipatory based on the fact the 49ers, unless you're living under a rock, the 49ers, I said this on the roundtable, I said it before we got to this week, they are going to get up for this game. They might have a letdown against they didn't against the Chicago Bears, totally killed my point. But anyway, they might not play as well against a crappy team, but you bet your ass they're going to get ready for the Rams. I mean, there's
McVay and Shanahan got too much of a friend. Like they're too much frenemies to just not get up for this game. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree
Because
with that.
they'll be talking about this because they get together in the off season all the time, and Sean will just continue to be like, "We swept you," like, and he will not care. Like that's what they do. They are psychos. They're both very competitive. So
the photo I have on my thumbnail was the most disrespectful photo. Sean McVay after the game, the head thing. Oh my gosh, dude!
With the Super Bowl trophy.
No. Yeah, I didn't Photoshop that in. No,
Ryan
but it was the
Fitzpatrick
actual
did that.
picture where he's just got his hand on Shanahan's head. It's like, dude, he's so disrespectful. No handicap comes in. He first donated on your show, then he came in with the same joke on my show just to show me love. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
That is much love. All right, brother. Let's get into this next topic here. I want to talk about. I'm going to scrap one of these topics because we are running a little long, but I do want to get to this one here because I do think that this game has more than just this week riding on it. I look at the Rams and I look at how they've retooled this team on the fly. I think you guys, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're the second youngest team in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. I think the Packers are the youngest.
Yeah, and then it's the Rams. So the Rams have done a great job just revamping this team on the fly and remaining competitive. Now, obviously, if Stafford goes, that could change things drastically. But in talking to you, it does sound like Stafford and Cooper Kupp will be here for at least one more year. So if that is the case and you got this young team, a lot of guys are making contributions. I'm going to throw this out at you and you tell me what you think. So to me, this game has a lot riding on it because the 49ers have owned the Rams in the regular season up to this point. But slowly but surely, this Rams team has had so much turnover at such a quick rate that these players on the Rams have not been a part of that, a lot of them. They're not a part of the 49ers owning the Rams. And because of that, obviously the week 18 game, players were sat, Rams won, whatever. The beginning, week 4, week 2, something like that last year, the 49ers won. But this year, the Rams won. And if the Rams sweep the 49ers, most of these players only know owning the 49ers. And so now you look into next year and how the division might play out. And it's like, well, yeah, we used to be able to say, we just beat the Rams. That's what we do. But now all of a sudden, if you lose this one, that's 3 straight regular season losses. Although the week 18 one, you can say, players were being sat, whatever. But that would be 3 straight losses nonetheless to the Rams. And I think for a young team, as they're building their confidence in this division, that could be really bad for the 49ers, even going into next year. Do you think I'm off my rocker? Like, am I just looking way too far into this thing, or do you kind of see it that way as well?
No, I think it would be bad because you're essentially, if the Rams win this, you're teaching this young group of guys on both sides. One, that the Rams are to be feared. And on the Rams side, you're teaching them, like, we own the Niners. That's what happens when you have these newcomers come in. Like, Puka Nacua didn't even know 3 weeks ago what division he was playing in.
It's so funny.
It's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
So wild to me.
He didn't know that the 49ers were in it. He didn't know, right? So it's almost like, ignorance is bliss, if you will. And I mean, all Puka Nacua knows is that this team is 2-1 in his time playing against the 49ers. He does not know the other stuff. And really, I don't think too many fans understand a lot of these guys. If you interview these prospects coming out, a lot of them don't even watch the game. This is just a job. This is just a passion. But it's not like Jessie and I. Like, they literally do not watch football. They don't watch the NFL. I've asked people, like prospects, pretty decent name prospects, what player did you model your game after, if any? Like, I didn't watch the NFL. Like, it's you have to understand they come from a different place. Yeah, it's a whole different ball game when you're sitting there every single day and all you're thinking about is making that NFL money, getting to the NFL, taking the steps. You got cameras in your face now, NIL. It's just these they're humans just like you and I, but they live completely different lifestyles. And I mean, these are the upper echelon of the sport. Like whether you want to admit it or not, okay, that player you might say is trash. Well, he's in the NFL. So he's one of the best in the world at what he does.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. I'm looking at this Rams team and it's a whole different Rams team. And the 49ers, quite frankly, they're going to be different next year too, you know? I mean, I don't know. It's interesting how things can sway very, very quickly in this league. And I just think a 3-game losing streak to the Rams would be disastrous. And I think the 49ers are kind of where the Rams were at maybe 2 years ago. And that worries me, not only from the Rams side, but also the Seahawks. I'm just looking at the Seahawks, the Rams, and even the Cardinals to a certain extent. And it's like they've gotten a head start on their retools / rebuilds, while the 49ers are still at the tail end of trying to win a Super Bowl, which is great. I love all of that. But they've hung on seemingly a year too long. And now they've got to go retool on the fly while these other teams are a year, maybe 2 years ahead of them in that process. And if they're hitting on these prospects, man, I don't know. To me, I could see a down team for a couple of years. And that's kind of where my thought process is at, but we'll see.
Hey, remember when people were saying to blow up this team and trade Stafford and Cup, and I said that this isn't over and they shouldn't be doing that, and and this whole idea that they need to blow it all up when they've been literally rebuilding on the fly. There's not much, and this is what I try to explain to people. They can upgrade in areas for sure next year. They can get a better left tackle. They can go out and get Garrett Bowles, right? I think Bowles is having a fantastic season for the Broncos. They could go out and they could get linebacker help. They could get a corner. They could add another receiver. There are ways to upgrade this team, but they don't need to. And that's the thing, is that when people are like, oh yeah, they have needs. Well, we say this every year. Yeah, the linebackers, they could be better. We said that the year they won the Super Bowl. I mean, you have Micah Parsons, who was rooting for the Rams, and not Chandler Parsons. He was rooting for the Rams, and he's sitting there and he's like, man, I like this team, but who's playing linebacker? I don't even know these people. Like, he said that. And I'm pretty sure the Rams faced the Cowboys that year. How disrespectful.
Oh, my gosh, dude. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Jack says, will McCaffrey get an extension? They actually reworked his deal going into this season. So, essentially, he's on the team next year unless they decide they want to cut him. And I was looking at his deal. At first, I was like, yeah, they got to move on from him. But it's actually pretty favorable to where it's almost better that they move on from him in 2026. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with McCaffrey. I would expect that he's on this team next year, though. To what capacity? How great is he? That I don't know. All day, every day, Kim says McVay will give Kyle another little bro head pat. I hope not. Roger says, Jake, please have the broom ready for the NFC West roundtable next Tuesday, please. I might legitimately call in sick if that happens. And then No Handicap says, if Lyle gets fired, would McVay hire Kyle? I think Kyle would land on his feet. Something tells me Kyle would land on his feet if he was let go, for sure.
He'd get a head coaching job the second it came out that he was fired. I don't know if that's the Bears. I don't know if that's the Raiders. I don't know if that's the Patriots. But he would get a head coaching job the second he was fired.
Oh, man. I don't know how Kyle would do with like the Raiders and the Bears, some dysfunctional franchises. Although we were that too, so who knows? I mean,
yeah, I give him a lot of credit. Over. Yeah, I give him a lot of credit too. I mean, the job he did, I'm not ignorant to the fact that he turned this franchise around. I mean, at one point you had Jim Tom Sula, who we know what he's most known for, and then it's done. There's no way I can even move on with that comment.
gosh, dude. That
They'll
was so gnarly, bro. That was so gnarly.
Just a total train wreck. I tried.
Hell of a defensive line coach, though. You know?
Yeah.
At Jim Tomzula, right? Killing it in NFL Europe, I hear. All right, give me your score prediction, man. What do you think's gonna happen in this one? I do have the Rams winning this one, 27-24. But as I said with my last show, I have successfully predicted this game incorrectly for like the last 6 matchups. So this bodes very well for the 49ers that I'm picking the Rams right now.
Pick the 49ers.
So go. The Rams are going to win this thing, guys. Guarantee it. Run to the bank with it. 27-24. I'm sure I'll get it wrong again. Who are you picking in this one and why?
Well, I think the 49ers are going to score 24 again, but I think the Rams are going to score 31, eclipsing 30 for the 3rd time this season. I think that this is going to be a scare. I do. It's going to be a tough game. It is going to be you're going to have to change your shirt. It's going to be sweaty, right? But if you're a Rams fan, 49ers, why are you sweating? Like, you're looking at, like, 49er fans are not even looking at this game like they have a chance. They do. They absolutely do. I think the 49ers could win this game. And now I know Rams fans will be upset I said that, but it's true. Okay? It's a short week. You're coming off a 44-42 win. You have to keep the momentum going. They have more pressure than the Niners because the Niners season is on the line for sure. But at this point, is the Niners season really on the line, or are the Niners actually kind of done? Like, you know what I mean? They need a lot to go their way. Whereas the Rams, the pressure on them is that they can't really lose moving forward. I know they have that cushion that we talked about, but momentum is key in this league. And if you follow up that huge win against the Buffalo Bills and you lay an egg on national TV against your rival 49ers, I mean, that could cost you the division. They could spiral out of control. I think the Jets game is going to be close. I'll be at that game. I'm telling you right now, if that Jets game is just like the freaking Giants game was last year that I was at, 26-25, wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't be surprised. The Cardinals, I think the Rams are going to probably roll over the Cardinals, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, the Cardinals are just falling apart, man.
It doesn't bode well for the Cardinals that the only real blowout the Rams have had all year. I mean, obviously Eagles, whatever, but a 41-10 beatdown, like, you gave them something to be pissed about. They are going to be, I feel bad for Mike. It's not going to be good. And this team doesn't blow teams out, but I might pick them to blow out the Cardinals. Week 18, though, Jesse, I think is the division. I think it's going to be a rematch for the division back in 2010 when you had Sam Bradford in his rookie year taking on clipboard Jesus Charlie Whitehurst in Seattle, and they lost. I think this year will be different. I think they'll win. But I think it's big, Jesse, because I have them winning this game. I had them winning before the Bills game. I have them winning it now. That's a lie. I had them winning before the Bills game in the middle of the season. Before the season happened, I had them losing both of these games because I thought it was like, you're going to have a physical Bills team, and then you go on the road Thursday night. It's not a great matchup. But look, I think right now the Rams are clearly the better team. 49ers don't have Christian McCaffrey or Jordan Mason. That, to me, is kind of holding me back from thinking that they're going to win. But I think they could win, and I think it's going to be a tough one, 31-24. I think it'll be fun. It'll be a good game. Nobody in the, nobody at Amazon Prime is going to be upset with the product on the field on Thursday. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think it's going to be a really, really good game. I could see it going either way. Spidey G says, Jesse, there's no way you picked the Rams week 2 of 2023. No, you're right about that. I am going back to the season prior, though, where I was 0-3 picking that matchup. Remember, they played in the playoffs that year, NFC Championship. All 3 games I was wrong on. Last year, I'm certain I would have picked the 49ers early in the season. I think I picked them every single game. So I was technically wrong week 18. And then this year, I thought they would beat the Rams, so I was wrong again. So I've been wrong more often than not with this game. So it bodes well that I'm picking the Rams. You should actually feel good about this. You should.
Yeah,
Not you, Jake. You, Jake, should not. The
Yeah,
chat, though, my chat should feel good about this.
I picked against him. What was it, week 3? I think I think I picked.
You did. You
I
picked the
did.
Niners to win. Yeah, you picked the Niners to win.
Yeah, I did.
All day, every day. Kim says it helped Kyle a ton having John instead of a GM. Oh, yeah, because he's saying we were talking about bad franchises. So they're saying, Kyle had his choice of GM and was able to kind of run the show. I agree.
That's
Big
true.
John says the 69ers don't even have a run game. It's over. If Garendo plays, you might be surprised. Isaac Garendo is pretty dang good. So we'll see how that goes.
If he finds a crease, he's as dangerous as Saquon Barkley was because he's got the speed to house it. The problem is he goes down on first contact. He's going to go down on an arm tackle, and the Rams are chomping at the bit hearing that because they're over the guys that are just bruisers that can stay up and he's been hit 4 times and he won't go. Yeah, that's the Rams are done with that. But hey, if the Rams are capable of doing that, maybe they could turn Isaac Guerrero into more than just an arm tackle guy, right? So it goes both ways, man. We'll see what ends up happening. I got a lot of respect for him. I also love Izzy Abanikanda. He should be playing. I mean, he's a really good player, and unfortunately, the Jets just had all these guys. They had an influx I don't know why they drafted 2 running backs after drafting Breece Hall, and Izzy, but is what it is.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Although I like Allen. I think that was a good pick.
Me too.
Dave Barclay says, I told Jessie every week our losses until the Bucs game. That is true. You were on point picking our losses. All right, Jake. Thank you as always for joining me, man. Always a great show. This is a quick turnaround week, man. Good luck to your Rams. Not too much good luck. We'll be talking trash to each other in our group chat, and we'll see how this thing plays out, and then who has to eat crow come Tuesday. I'm curious to see. Do you bring the broom, or do I get to bring out the fork? That is the question.
The broom.
The broom. So we'll have to see who gets to bring their prop with them. Thank you so much for joining me. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for being here on Jake's side and my side. Make sure you're subscribed to Jake's channel. Link will be in the description. Much love, everybody. Have a blessed night. Be back tomorrow for the post game. Peace.